1347 hours in the heart of occupied Zaporizhia. The sky is clear, the calm only broken by the high-pitched whine of 12 Ukrainian drones cutting through the air. Each one is a precision-engineered marvel, zipping toward their target, a Russian ammunition train barreling down the tracks at 97 km/h. These aren't just surveillance drones. They're flying weapons armed and ready for one of the most audacious strikes of the war. But as the operators pilot their drones from underground bunkers, they're unaware that the Russian artillery has already locked onto their position. The sound of artillery fire erupts too close. A 152mm shell explodes just 800 meters away, rattling the operators and shaking the dust from the ceiling. It's the first sign that their location has been compromised. A split second of panic is all it takes, and they know the danger now. Russian artillery has pinpointed their coordinates. The Ukrainian drone operators are already in motion, carefully calculating their next move. They know this could be the end of the mission, but they don't falter. The 12 drones, each a symbol of innovation, carry with them a delicate and advanced network of fiber optic cables, a feature that is the key to their survival. These cables are thinner than a strand of hair, but they carry data at light speed, completely immune to the electronic warfare flooding the air around them. In an instant, 3 of the drones lose their connection to the operators as the Zutel's jamming signals tear through the air. The cables on drones 2, 5, and 8 are severed by the electromagnetic pulse, and these drones instantly switch to backup power, relying on radio control. But that's the problem. Radio frequencies are now being flooded with so much interference that the drones are flying blind, unable to communicate with their operators. The backup systems are vulnerable to the overwhelming jamming that's been unleashed. Their signals disappear from the operator's screens, lost in a fog of static. But the remaining 9 drones, the ones with their fiber optic cables intact, continue their mission as if nothing has changed. They are entirely immune to the Zutel's assault. The physics behind fiber optic transmission doesn't care about radio interference. The light signals bounce through glass fibers unaffected by the electromagnetic noise. In essence, the drones are using light-speed data to outmaneuver a jamming system that relies on radio waves forces from 2 very different worlds clashing on the battlefield. The operators, though, under immense pressure, remain calm. They're used to this. Before launching the drones, they knew this could happen. They had planned for the worst-case scenario and set up their control stations in 3 separate bunkers, spaced 500 meters apart. It's a strategy that could save their lives if the artillery finds them. Each artillery shell can devastate an area with a lethal radius of 300 meters. But with their bunkers spaced so far apart, even if 1 or 2 were hit, the 3rd would survive. This ensures that at least some drones would remain operational to complete the mission. The first artillery round lands 600 meters away. The operators feel the ground shake, but they don't flinch. They've trained for this, rehearsed it. With nerves of steel, they focus on the target ahead, the Russian ammunition train, and keep their drones flying, the fiber optic cables shining like lifelines in the darkness of the storm. The train is approaching a 2-kilometer stretch of exposed track. There's no cover, no defensive positions, and no way for the Russians to defend themselves once the drones close in. This moment, this 97-second window, has been carefully calculated. They've studied the terrain for weeks. They know exactly where they must strike. The entire mission hinges on timing, precision, and the speed at which they can close the gap. The Russian artillery, however, is relentless. A 4th shell lands dangerously close, sending up another explosion, just meters from the operator's bunker. But the operators are already on the move, racing to their backup positions. They know their survival is critical, but they also know they cannot stop now. They sprint through connecting tunnels, dodging shrapnel, while the drones continue their flight, cutting through the chaos and the noise like ghosts in the storm. The fight isn't just physical, it's also one of nerve. The drone operators must keep their focus even as the artillery continues to rain down. And they must trust that their preparation, their technology, their strategy will give them the edge. The operators can only watch as their drones continue their journey, knowing that while the Zutel has overwhelmed the backup drones, the remaining drones with fiber optic cables are still immune to the jamming. As the drones close in, the Russians scramble to mount a defense. The intensity of the engagement shifts from electronic warfare to physical combat. The Ukrainian operators have already outwitted the Russian jamming systems, but the battle is far from over. The remaining drones still have to overcome a formidable obstacle, the BTR-82A, a Russian armored vehicle stationed at a checkpoint 9 kilometers from the train. This is the first real threat the drones face after overcoming the electromagnetic storm. The BTR gunner struggles to keep up, but the geometry of the engagement is against him. The drones are small, only the size of dinner plates, yet they're moving faster than highway traffic. As they move in and out of his line of sight, the gunner realizes just how difficult this task is. The drone's unpredictable motions combined with the high speed at which they're flying make it nearly impossible to hit them. Even though he's been trained in simulators where targets move in a predictable pattern, real combat doesn't follow the same rules. Frustrated, the commander of the BTR slams his fist on the turret. He knows he's not hitting anything, but there's nothing he can do. The drones continue their flight, a symbol of agility, speed, and technological precision. The Russian gunners are at a disadvantage they can't overcome because these drones are unlike anything they've ever faced before. The power of high-tech, low-cost weaponry is now undeniable. The fight is not just about firepower, but about intelligence and adaptability. In a world of unpredictable technology, Russia's heavy-handed approach can't keep up. With the BTR-82A's ineffective barrage in their wake, the drones now face the next layer of Russian defense, Pantsir S-1, an air defense system designed to stop cruise missiles and aircraft. The Pantsir radar detects the drones just 3 kilometers from the train. The operator switches to electro-optical mode, manually tracking the incoming swarm. Unlike radar systems that depend on the size and shape of targets, the electro-optical system uses a high-powered optical telescope to track the drone's movements. But despite the advanced technology of the Pantsir S-1, the drones are still proving to be a difficult target. They're moving too erratically, too unpredictably. At this stage, the Pantsir system is trained to track larger threats, cruise missiles, fighter jets, things that follow a more predictable trajectory. The drones, on the other hand, are flying erratically, weaving and dodging in all directions. The radar and optical sensors struggle to keep up. Finally, the Pantsir's twin, 2A-38M autocannons open fire, unleashing a storm of 30mm shells at the incoming drones. The system is designed for high-velocity, high-volume fire, and at 5,000 rounds per minute, it creates an impenetrable wall of metal between the drones and their target. The goal isn't to hit individual drones, such a task would be impossible, but to create a burst of shrapnel that fills the air, forcing the drones to scatter. At this distance, the drones are well within the soldiers' line of sight. A platoon of infantrymen fires everything they have, AK-47s, machine guns, even RPG-7s. But the geometry of the situation is almost impossible. At 27 meters per second, each drone spends less than a second in the soldier's line of sight. Human reaction time is approximately 0.25 seconds, and target acquisition takes another 0.5 seconds. By the time the soldiers can squeeze the trigger, the drones are already gone. The drones are closing in. The train is within reach, and the final hurdle is almost passed. The Russian defenses, despite their technological advantages, are being overwhelmed. The drones, small, fast, and unpredictable, have proven to be the perfect weapons to break through even the most sophisticated defense systems. Thermite charges, a deadly concoction of aluminum powder and iron oxide, are released from the drones high above the Russian railway tracks. The molten fury of thermite will burn through the thick steel rails, cutting them into molten pools. This is the last layer of their. The drones drop their payloads and the thermite charges ignite on impact with the rails. The heat is immediate and overwhelming. Thermite burns at an incredible 2,500 degrees, far hotter than the 1,370 melting point of the steel rails. Within moments, the charges have transformed 4 sections of track into puddles of molten metal, the rails burning away like paper under a blowtorch. The strike is as precise as it is devastating. Russian logistics are suddenly grinding to a halt. But even in the face of such destruction, the drones are not safe yet. They are still under threat from Pantsir S-1, which continues its futile attempt to engage them. The autocannon barrels glow cherry red from the sustained fire, a visual testament to the intensity of the combat. The system was designed to fire at cruise missiles and aircraft, but the drones are something entirely different. In the heat of battle, the autocannons can maintain their maximum rate of fire for only 45 seconds before the heat warps the rifling, causing the rounds to tumble instead of spin. Accuracy becomes a casualty of speed. At this critical moment, the Panzer system is forced to cease fire to allow the guns to cool down. The 12-second break creates an eternity for the drones as they push through the gap. 7 remaining drones accelerate through the smoke and chaos, carving their path toward the train. The precision of their movements is staggering. The operator's screens flicker as they approach their target. The train is in sight. But this isn't just a matter of overcoming Russian firepower. The clock is ticking. The drones have already been fighting an uphill battle, their batteries draining faster than expected as they fight through headwinds and make constant course corrections. The power reserves are low, and the drones need just 30 more seconds to complete their mission, but they only have 20 seconds of flight time remaining. The stakes could not be higher. In the final moments as the drones close in on the train, the fiber optic cables on each drone are approaching their maximum extension. The operators can feel the weight of the decision on their shoulders. If the cables break or tangle, the drones will lose their connection and the entire mission will fail. The tension reaches a boiling point. Then the drones perform the automatic cable release. Each drone's fiber optic line unspools, ensuring that no drone gets tangled as it approaches its target. The cables are released over a matter of seconds, the drones now flying free, but they're dangerously close to the train. With just a few seconds left, one drone experiences a failure. Its cable release mechanism malfunctions and it falls short by 13 meters. But the rest of the drones continue their flight unaffected by the small glitch. Time is running out. At this moment, the train engineer sees the drones through his windscreen. 7 black dots rapidly growing larger against the afternoon sky. The realization strikes him he's facing an impending disaster. The train's engines roar as the engineer slams the throttle forward, trying to speed away. But in doing so, he unknowingly sets off a chain of problems. The acceleration causes the train wheels to lose traction on the aging tracks. As the train struggles to gain speed, it's actually slowing down. The harder the engineer pushes the throttle, the worse the situation becomes. The wheels spin on the steel rails, polishing them and reducing friction. The train now loses 2 km/h of speed instead of gaining it. The Panzer S1 tries one last-ditch effort to engage. But by the time the guns are ready to fire again, the drones have already entered its minimum engagement range. At just 500 meters from the train, the system can't depress the guns low enough to target the drones, which are skimming just above the rails. A $20 million air defense system designed to stop cruise missiles and aircraft is helpless against simple geometry. It's a classic case of technology being defeated by basic trigonometry. At 13:59, the first drone strikes the coupling between the locomotive and the first wagon. The RPG-7 warhead detonates on impact, creating a jet of molten copper that shears the steel coupling instantly. The first part of the plan has been executed flawlessly. A chain reaction follows. The remaining drones hit their marks one by one, fuel valves rupture, brake lines sever, and the ammunition car begins to explode. The impact triggers a secondary explosion that erupts in a fireball, sending shockwaves through the train. In just a few moments, the Ukrainian drones, with a combined cost of just $4,800, have wiped out $127 million in Russian military assets and severed the sole rail line supplying 3 mechanized divisions, preparing for their assault the next day. It's a devastating blow, a clear message that modern warfare is no longer about brute force, but about precision, innovation, and technological ingenuity. The aftermath of the Ukrainian drone strike is staggering. In just a matter of minutes, $4,800 worth of drones have obliterated $127 million in Russian military assets. The rail line, the critical lifeline feeding 3 mechanized divisions, is severed, and the military convoy geared for a major assault is left in ruins. The scale of destruction is a testament to the shifting tides of modern warfare, where low-cost, high-tech weapons can achieve strategic goals previously reserved for massive, expensive military operations. This mission wasn't just a success for Ukraine, it was a stark wake-up call for the entire world. The concept of asymmetric warfare, where the weaker side uses unconventional tactics and technology to counter a far stronger enemy has entered a new era. Ukraine, with its limited resources, has demonstrated that innovation and precision can defeat raw power. These drones, initially built for civilian purposes, were repurposed and turned into a lethal force capable of outwitting some of the most advanced defense systems in the world. What's even more remarkable is that the drones didn't just target a single vehicle or a small target. They hit the heart of a highly secured military convoy. They exploited the vulnerabilities in Russian defense systems, particularly the Pantsir S-1 and the Jatel electronic warfare vehicle systems, designed to stop conventional threats like cruise missiles and aircraft. The drones, however, didn't play by the same rules. Their fiber optic communication system made them immune to the electronic warfare attempts that would have crippled conventional drones, allowing them to navigate the Russian defenses with ease. From a strategic standpoint, this attack isn't just about technology. It's about a fundamental shift in the way wars are fought. Networked warfare, where small, inexpensive systems are linked together to create a greater force, has become the new reality. A handful of drones working in tandem are now capable of taking down entire military units, transforming warfare into something more decentralized, efficient, and cost-effective. For NATO and other global powers, this attack serves as a sobering reminder. The future of combat won't be decided by armies of tanks and fighter jets, but by small, interconnected machines capable of delivering precise, devastating strikes with minimal cost and effort. In the near future, hobby drones, electronic warfare systems, and high-tech engineering will likely define the course of battle. As this mission proves, modern warfare has less to do with the size of your force and more to do with how quickly and precisely you can strike at the right time and place. The next war, wherever it may take place, will undoubtedly be shaped by this lesson. So as we look toward future conflicts, the question remains, who will control the battlefield of tomorrow? Will it be the militaries with the largest budgets or the innovators who know how to use the technology of today to their advantage?